Is the media engaged in a witch hunt against Donald Trump? Well, that's what the presumptive GOP nominee alleges after a string of negative stories hit the press over the last few days, including a New York Times expose on his past behavior towards women. The piece features accounts from more than a dozen women who are former employees, girlfriends, or associates of Trump. This includes Roanne Brewer-Lane, a former model and girlfriend of the candidate. This morning on Fox and Friends, not only did she defend Trump, she accused the paper of getting her story wrong.
It was very upsetting. I was not happy to read it at all. They told me several times, and my manager several times, that it would not be a hit piece and that my story would come across the way that I was telling it, and honestly, and it absolutely was not. They did take quotes from what I said, and they put a negative connotation on it. They spun it to where it appeared negative. I did not have a negative experience with Donald Trump. I don't know how many other girls feel like they were misquoted, but I know that for a fact I was, and I don't want that out there. That's not how it was. That's not how it felt.
All right, so that was big news this morning. It was an interview with Ainsley Earhart on Fox and Friends, and the authors of the article are standing by their column.
I interviewed Roanne Brewer-Lane, and I'm going to let her speak for herself, but I think readers of the story can digest what happened to her at Mar-a-Lago in 1990. I think people can evaluate the story kind of on its own merits.
We gathered a variety of voices, and our story is not just Roanne's account of her experience with him in the 1990s. It's the experience of many women going back over the years.
Trump took to Twitter to voice his outrage, saying the New York Times is so dishonest. Their hit piece cover story on me yesterday was just blown up by Roanne Brewer, who said it was a lie. Greg, I see the intense eye contact.
I read this article, and the list of disgusting behavior by Trump is unbelievable. Did you know that he offered a woman a bikini, and then they later dated? It gets worse.
Awful stuff.
He made comments regarding a beauty pageant. I mean, about beauty at a beauty pageant. I mean, that's like making comments about muscles at a bodybuilding contest. My God, then he calls women dear. I mean, this is absolutely outrageous. I mean, what a rigorous takedown that New York Times did. It reminded me of the one they didn't do in 2007 about a candidate who actually had a fundraiser with a terrorist. I ask everybody to do the Bill Ayers test and look at whatever is in that article. Does anything in that article come to even close to meeting with Bill Ayers, a terrorist who tried to kill Americans?
No, it doesn't, dear.
Sorry. I lost my mind. But it's crazy.
Does anything in that article come even close to what Bill Clinton did? I mean, now we know about this Lolita flight, right? And then Fox News, a piece that was out a couple of days ago, said that Bill Clinton was on this flight. Jeffrey Epstein is a known pedophile, right? It's been proven. He would fly people around the country. There would be a bed on these airplanes, and there would be group sex going on.
Mile High Club.
Now, Bill Clinton took 26 flights on this airplane, sometimes ditching his Secret Service to go on this flight. Now, if New York Times is going to do what they're going to do, but if Clintons want to use this war on women thing with Donald Trump, they better be careful, because there is so much material that Donald Trump can use against Bill Clinton, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. I think you're going to hear a lot more about these flights, too, by the way.
Interesting. All right, so Data, what do you make of this? Well, the back and forth.
I'd say one thing that is different now for Donald Trump than it was for previous presidents, and it's to his advantage, or to candidates. Remember when, I think was it Newsweek, that ran the photo of President George H.W. Bush during his re-election and called him a wimp, the wimp factor, and that really packed a punch. There was no way to really push back immediately. There was no way to have people on social media, Twitter, Facebook, whatever else, to try to push back, to get somebody out on cable television to do that. So I think Donald Trump uses that effectively. The other thing I think that he has said that is somewhat, I think, defensible is that he talked about past degradation of women in this way. I never anticipated running for public office or being a politician, so I'd have fun on the radio, and he basically talks about being entertaining, and it wasn't necessarily meant to be degrading.
All right, so do you think ultimately this is going to hurt the presumptive GOP nominee?
No, in fact, I thought the New York Times piece fell flat for just the reasons you've heard here before. I just didn't think it was compelling. Oh, this is egregious behavior. I think the real issue here is, one, Trump's still at about 70% disapproval with American women, including, I think, 50% with Republican, non-college educated white women, which is his base. But the second thing to say is he's got a problem with the evangelical social conservatives, the 3 divorces, you know, the serial philanderer, I think is what Cruz said about him. In addition to, you know, saying, oh, Planned Parenthood, yeah, I could support it. I think a lot of social conservatives have trouble with those issues. So that's the issue, and I think that's why you're going to continue to see this issue of Trump's sexual attitudes and behaviors. Somebody said his New York values, this was Tim Hulskamp, the Republican from Kansas, he just said Trump's a crass guy.
Yeah. He's no Dennis Hastert.
Okay.
No. Ooh.
All right, and don't forget we have Megyn Kelly's big sit-down with Donald Trump tomorrow night. And she's also going to join us here on The 5. Next.